Howdy folks, here we are. What is it, about day 30 in our social isolation here? You probably notice I'm back in my office. I came to campus to help our own Chris Stanley. He's in the art building. He's fabricating face masks or shields, I should say, for healthcare workers. My sister is a nurse in Virginia, and her ward is helping COVID-19 patients, so I'd appreciate some good thoughts her way. Got to show solidarity. Anyway, but as I say, our own university here is fabricating lots of shields here to help all our healthcare workers here in West Texas. Anyway, okay, so in the midst of all the fun going on here around us, I thought I'd share some more thoughts about Chesnutt's Marrow of Tradition. And I think folks did a really good job with a question about what baby Dodie represents. Poor kid he hadn't even had a chance to even do anything yet, right? And he almost dies many times over. So we just have to ask, when you have this image being repeated over and over and over again, we have to ask, what the heck is going on? How does this figure into Chesnutt's theme regarding injustices endured by the African American community? Okay, so that's what I'll be talking about a little bit right now. So I have my book here. If you would get your books out, and I'll make a few points, and please do follow along. Well, if you look over on page 50, okay, this is the very last paragraph of chapter 1, and I included this quote in the prompt that I gave you. And very beginning of the book, and baby Dodie is born, just a newborn, and Mammy Jane sees a mole behind its ear, right on its neck, right here. And yes, Mammy Jane is a traditional African American figure, and old-fashioned and everything else, and the Dr. Millers of the world and the Mammy Janes of the world are two very different ways of being an African American in this world. But that's not to say that Mammy Jane is not able to offer some very important insights. What she's saying here about baby Dodie is right on the money, okay? So in other words, just because it's from Mammy Jane doesn't mean that what she's saying is completely off the mark, because it's not. Okay, so yeah, page 50, end of chapter 1. Old Mammy Jane, however, was not entirely at ease concerning the child. She had discovered under its left ear a small mole, which led her to fear that the child was born for bad luck. And it goes on to say, it was manifestly impossible that a child of such high quality as the grandson of her old mistress should die by judicial strangulation. So mole behind the ear, that's right where the hangman's noose would go, right? So Mammy Jane saying, I don't see this highborn kid getting hanged for any kind of crime. So she sees the sign, it represents strangulation or hanging, but it doesn't make sense. Why would a highborn white kid, to be blunt about it, run the risk of getting hanged? And that's what this whole novel is about. Okay, just bear with me. I'll explain it all, I promise. But nevertheless, the warning was a serious thing and not to be lightly disregarded. Okay, so, and then if you look over on page 192, in this book, 192, which is chapter 28. And way up here, this gives some kind of evidence now about why this highborn white child seems almost fated to die. Okay, now bear with me. This is kind of complicated. We got to make a few leaps here for this to come together. This is just before that section break, chapter 28. Looks like about 5 pages in. Okay, the great steal was made, but the thieves did not turn honest. The scheme still shows the mark of the burglar's tools. Sins like chickens come home to roost. Okay? The South paid a fearful price for the wrong of Negro slavery. In some form or other, it will doubtless reap the fruits of this later iniquity. Okay? Sins like chickens come home to roost. Okay? Some of y'all talked about this, karma, all right, in your post, or what goes around comes around. Okay? If you sow evil, you will reap evil. Okay? So you see what's starting to come together here? That Dodie is marked to pay for the sins of his mother and father, and then generations before them. Okay, and this is why I said in the discussion post how all this might tie in to conceptions of sin in the Hebrew scriptures or in the Old Testament, right? That sins are passed from the father to the son. And you see this with Pharaoh, okay? That, Passover. It's Good Friday right now, right? So happy Easter for those who celebrate. But Passover, the Jewish community, the chosen people mark their doorway with the blood of a lamb, so the angel of death will pass over them. But the angel of death goes and gets the Pharaoh's son. The Pharaoh's son is just a little baby. What did he do? Nothing. But you see, the Pharaoh did. So punishments have a way of being passed down to subsequent generations. Okay, is it starting to come together now? Chesnutt is basically saying, all right, y'all, you patriarchs of the South, you may have gotten away with all these crimes you committed against God, against humanity, against the African American people, but your children aren't going to get away with it. So that's why baby Dodie is marked. Okay, does that make sense? He's fated. He's fated to die because of the curse of slavery. What goes around comes around. Sins like chickens come home to roost, right? It's karma. Karma, to put it another way, karma is about to bite the Carterets on the butt, all right? You can put that on the exam if you want, okay? All right, so is this starting to make sense? Again, if I were in class, I could look around, and if anyone's looking confused, like, huh? Then, I can help you out, right? But anyway, I hope that makes sense. Okay, and if it doesn't, again, on the Canvas post, just write down, gee, what are you talking about? Karma and biting you on the butt and whatever. Okay, I don't get it. Just say so, and I'll try to spell it out some more. Okay. So now let's look at some examples. And this is why we have over and over and over again baby Dodie almost dying by strangulation. This is meant to be a message from some kind of supernatural powers to not just to the Carterets, but to the whole South. You better pay attention. Y'all have behaved really badly, and you better straighten up. And if you don't, you're going to get it, okay? Maybe subtle, maybe not, but that's the message Chesnutt is trying to pass along. You can't continue sinning against God, against humanity, and get away with it. Even if you have a law on your side, if you're sinning, that's a violation of a higher law. And one way or another, it's going to catch up with you. Okay? Yeah, and Chesnutt knew his Bible. Okay? Okay, so look over on page 72. Okay, so very beginning, when we first start to see this kid choking, he's choking on a piece of a rattle that Aunt Polly gave him. 72, this is towards the end of chapter 4. He has swallowed that little piece off the end of the handle, she cried, turning pale with fear, and it is lodged in his throat. Telephone Dr. Price to come immediately, Philip, before my baby chokes to death. Oh, my precious baby. So there's one message. Your kid's choking, and you had everything to do with it. Okay, and then over on page 73, very bottom of 72, then over on to 73, last page of chapter 4. Again, Chesnutt telling us yet again, baby Dodie is marked, okay? The child was born for bad luck. The mole under its ear, just at the point where the hangman's knot would strike, had foreshadowed dire misfortune. Upon one occasion, on entering the room where the baby had just been left alone, asleep in the crib, here we go. Cats even show up in the picture, right? She had met a strange cat hurrying from the nursery, and upon examining closely the pillow upon which the child lay, had found a depression which had undoubtedly been due to the weight of the cat's body. Okay, those of you who know cats, those of you who have cats know what I'm talking about. Cats are pure evil. Okay, cats look at you like if they had half a chance, they're gonna kill you. But no, in all seriousness, apparently there are some recorded cases of kids walking into, little babies' nurseries and wanting to snuggle up with a baby, and they end up smothering it. So anyway, so that's what's going on here. The cat here almost suffocates baby Dodie. Okay? All right. So over on page 57 and 58, I'm picking back up again on this question of, the kid almost choking on the end of the rattle. And we have to look into this. There's a lot of subtlety here in Chesnutt. If you look over on page 57, this is just in chapter 2, we even have to follow where the rattle came from, okay? The rattle came from Aunt Polly's chest. She had like a little cedar chest, little treasure chest with all kinds of goodies in it. And yeah, we have to look deeply into the symbolic value of Aunt Polly's treasure chest. Remember, that's where Aunt Polly kept all those gold pieces, okay? And Aunt Polly, you don't have to get all into it now. You know all the deviltry she was up to, tried to deny Janet, Olivia's sister, Janet, who's black, tried to deny her birthright, and threw her mother out, denied her all the property, everything else, and Olivia hates her sister, even though she's her sister, even though she's black, and hates her because she would want to do everything she can to deny that familial connection. And Aunt Polly is hiding the letters that suggest this connection in that cedar chest with the gold coins and with the rattle. And of course, it was the gold coins that Tom Delamere went to steal, and in the process goes and kills Aunt Polly. So you see what I'm saying? This is karma catching up with Aunt Polly. You're using this treasure chest. Your treasure chest is a symbol of all this ill-gotten wealth, okay? All those gold coins, another really subtle point here, those gold coins are all dated. The mint marks and dates on them are all years before the Civil War. They're old gold pieces. So you see the connection there? That's gold that Aunt Polly got through or wealth that she got through enslaving black people, okay? So that's karma catching up with her. Tom is stealing from her what she stole, and she gets killed in the process, okay? So it's sin. Sin catching up with you. It might take a long time, but eventually it's gonna catch up. That's what Chesnutt's saying. So it's no accident that out of this Aunt Polly's treasure chest, out comes this rattle that is also, yeah, okay, something close to a rattle. There's actually a little sack of gold coins in here. I just realized that. Yeah, a student gave this to me. So out of this, out of this rattle then, Dodie chokes. So you see, these are all images of ill-gotten gain, and it's catching up with folks, okay, including baby Dodie and Aunt Polly both. So let me show you what I mean. Look over on page 57 and 58. Okay, talking about the rattle now. Mrs. Ochiltree, that's Aunt Polly, her present was an old and yellow ivory rattle with a handle which the child could bite while teething, and a knob screwed on it at the end to prevent the handle from slipping through the baby's hand. Then so Clara is saying, when I was a little girl, and you used to pull the chest out from under your bed to get me a dime. You kept the rattle in the right-hand corner of the chest, said Tom. And the box with a red silk purse. Remember, that's what he goes to steal later and kills her in the process. From which you took the gold piece you gave me every Christmas. Aunt Polly's chest is like the widow's cruse, says Mrs. Carteret, which is never empty. So it gives the impression, you know, like a cornucopia, right? An image of plenty, a never-ending source of wealth. Well, it only seems that way. For right now, it only seems that way. But it's not going to stay that way. Eventually, all this ill-gotten gain, it's going to catch up with Aunt Polly, and symbolically, it's catching up with the South. Or Fortunatus' purse, which was always full, added old Mr. Delamere, who read the Latin poets, etc., etc. Okay? All right. Yeah. Okay. And then so, you know, lots of other examples. Y'all pointed out that, you know, the kid almost falls out of the window and just holding on to this skirt as it's falling out and tumbling out of the window. That suggests almost a person being hanged, falling through a trap door, and the rope catches him by the neck. So again, this kid is cursed. Only Mammy Jane seems to be able to read the signs, okay? This is Chesnutt's way of saying white America better learn to read the signs also, okay? So if you look over on it's worth commenting on this part too, a little bit more about Olivia. Let me save that for part 2. Okay? All right, this is the end of part 1, and stay tuned for part 2.